Before I get into the strategy, I want to show you some proof that it actually works. Alright, so if you're interested, you need to watch this video, okay? Because this strategy might change the way you trade gold forever. It's simple, it's clean, and it just works. So this strat is all about supply and demand zones using the 5-minute time frame. Before I get into more advanced stuff, I just want to give you a quick intro to how it actually works. So the basics. So I'm going to go on a supply zone example. So for a supply zone to be created, you need a strong push down, meaning a lot of sellers stepped in, okay? That creates your supply zone. After your supply zone is created, you have a strong push down, okay? You need a strong push up, all right? You need an obvious high, okay? That will be your liquidity. Now, for your liquidity to be valid, it needs to take out its own low, so which is right over here. And it took it out just over here. After took it out, needs to have a break of structure. So this is your break of structure, your liquidity. All right, your liquidity is not valid if it doesn't take out its own low. Okay, this is for a supply zone example. Now, after all that has happened, all you need is price just to come back to your supply zone, and there you take your entry. Okay, same thing for the demand zone example. Okay, you have a strong push up, buy stepped in, you have a strong push down, like an obvious low. After that, this is your liquidity, of course. After that, you need a break of structure, liquidity taking out its own high on a demand zone example. After all that has happened, all you need is just price to come directly to your demand zone, and then you enter. All right, I'm going to show you a live example on the live charts as well. Okay, so I have a demand zone example over here. As you can see, you had a strong push up to the upside, and that creates your demand zone just over here. All right, now your liquidity for this example is over here, and it took out its own high over here. As you can see, this is very important because that high usually holds a bunch of stop losses, and when it gets taken out, it gives me a lot of confirmation. Okay, after that, it had a push up, okay, a direct push down, and now I'm going to give you a entry example. Now, as you can see, price is not allowed to close inside the zone or go through the zone. Okay, as you can see, for example, let's say price came over here, it would be invalid because it went through my demand zone. Let's say price closed over here, it will be invalid because they closed inside my zone. Now, which it did, it wicked to the zone and then it closed over here. So your entry for this example would just be on that directional close. Now, I do have 3 very important entry factors, okay? I've back tested over thousands of trades, and these 3 entry models are the most important ones, okay? So I'm going to explain them right now after I explain this first one. Okay, so the first one, most common one, is a directional close. So just as soon as the candle close, you enter, okay? Have your stop loss just below the wick, as you can see, entry over here, and now you just, as you can see, take profit, hit within just 2 candles, a 1 to 4 risk to reward. Okay, that's just great. Let me find a supply zone example now. Okay, I have this nice example over here. All right, a strong push down, and here's your supply zone. Mark it out with the wick and the higher wick over here. Okay, nice level of liquidity where all the stop losses are set. A nice break of structure, liquidity taking out its own low, very important, gives me confirmation, directly coming to my demand zone, and then it's tapped just over here. As you can see, it did not close inside the zone, and now all you need is a bearish close. All right, you don't enter on a bullish close on a supply zone example. Okay, as you can see over here, you would not enter yet. You would enter as soon as it gives a bearish candle. So for this example, I have another directional close. You would have just entered over here. Your stop loss would just be at this wick, and now for your take profit, just target this low, and for a 1 to 2 risk to reward. And as you can see, played out very nicely. Okay, now I'm going to go over some different entry models, and this is very important. All right, so watch this next part. Okay, so for this example, I'm going to talk about the flip entry. All right, so first up, I'm just going to talk about the trade. Push up, nice push up, created your liquidity, taking out its own high, break of structure. Now all we need is price to come directly to this demand zone. All right, as you can see. Now a flip entry is when, let's say, I'm going to make a drawing example. All right, you have your demand zone over here. All right, this is this candle. I'm going to draw this candle. This is this candle. And then now this bullish candle. All right, it opened where the previous candle closed. All right, this is the candle. Okay, so it wicked all the way to the zone. All right, if it comes deep enough in the zone, all right, at least halfway, and then it comes back up, and then once it flipped bullish on a demand zone example, you enter. All right, so a directional close over here would be all the way up here. All right, this is just stupid. All right, and now since I have back tested over thousands of trades, this flip entry is very important. All right, so as soon as it opened over here, it came all the way down over here, and then it flipped bullish. As soon as it flipped bullish, you enter the trade. All right, now I have a break structure example too. Okay, so I have another trade here. All right, a supply zone example. As you can see, strong push down, creating a supply zone. As you can see, all this is your liquidity, and here's your break of structure. As you can see, liquidity taken out is a low. All right, now you have the nice rejection, but you don't enter yet. Now, as you can see, you had a massive candle. You obviously would not enter all the way down over here for a directional close. If you were a very aggressive trader, you also could have entered a flip entry, but as you can see, it didn't really come that deep inside the zone. So that's why I have a break of candle entry model as well. So a break of candle is when the candle you're supposed to enter on breaks the previous candle. Okay, so in this example, you would have entered over here. As you can see, it broke the previous candle. So let's say this is the candle. This is this candle, all right? And now the next candle opened where the previous one closed. So it opened over here, all right? It went inside the zone. And now once it breaks this level, you enter. So price came over here, and once it broke it, you enter as soon as it broke it, all right? Sometimes this might come very, very useful, as you can see right over here. But sometimes it might not even come that useful, I'm gonna be honest. Sometimes it won't really make a difference, but you definitely don't want to miss out these kind of trades. Okay, look at this insane break of candle. It gave me such an advantage on this trade, and as you can see, target a 1 to 2 risk to reward and just play it out. And as you can see, your take profit, you could have also taken a 1 minute trailing stop loss as well. As you can see, a trailing stop loss on the 5 minute is you just trail the previous high. So over here, your stop loss would have been over here, then over here, and then over here. You would have got stopped out over here. So that would have brought you 0.8% extra just for a trailing stop loss. I mean, this strat is absolutely insane. All right, so I also want to go over some back testing. I want to show you how I analyze trades. This will be very useful, okay? After you finish that part of the video, like the whole video, I want you to go back test yourself, okay? I'm not making this video just for you to watch, okay? I really want you to learn. So I'm gonna go over some back testing just on gold. So let's just get right into that. So I'm gonna be back testing like just a random month. I don't know how the trades will play out, but I just want to back test just for a small period and see how it goes. So I'm just gonna start. Alright, so we do have nice few zones, one over here. It is pretty getting a little older, but if it comes directly back to this zone, this will be great. Has a nice level of liquidity. Took it out, also took out these highs as well. I mean, of course, on the 5 minute time frame, the trend doesn't really matter, but sometimes, I mean, it's definitely useful, of course, but it's not very important. So I'm not going to worry about trend right now. Let's just see if this actually comes back to the zone. Oh, well, that was pretty quick. As you can see, I'm not going to enter yet, just because I haven't got a bullish reaction first. So if this is okay, well, it was a bullish candle, and in this example, you would enter for a break of candle, stop loss over here, and for 900 pips, as you can see, I'm going to go for a 1 to 1.5. All right, and I'll decide to go a 1 minute trailing stop loss as well. So you can see my take profit was over here, then my stop loss over here. Next candle, my stop loss is over here, and Now I'm not going to change my stop loss because it's bearish candle. Now I'm going to have my stop loss over here. Now I'm over here. Not going to put it there because that's the bearish candle. And now again the bearish candle, and I got to stop that over here. Alright, so I got extra 0.5%. That's great. So that's already 2% extra. 0.95, same thing as 2%. Let's just continue now. Alright, so we do have this very small demand zone, but I'm definitely not a fan of this one just because it's like it's the middle of this straight line up. It's better if it's like the lowest part of the move up. The zone over there, like this zone over here is nice, but it has no liquidity. This zone over here is part of the straight move up, so I'm not really looking to take this unless it gives a very good entry. Alright, it looks like it didn't even tap this zone, so I'm just going to leave it. We do have this very nice looking demand zone. Everything over here is clean, just need price to come down. It barely tapped, so alright, well, closed inside the zone and went through it, so I'm not looking at that trade anymore. Alright, have this in the supply zone, liquidity over here, took out its own low, break structure. Now we need price to just, oh, alright, never mind guys. Yeah, I was not expecting that news. Yeah, that's definitely news. Let's just continue. This zone could still be valid. Actually, it's not that bad. I mean, news definitely does a little bit ruin it, but let's see just if we actually get a rejection or something. Well, never mind, I guess. But we do have this demand zone. It tapped over here. So let's say we would just take a flip entry over here. Aggressive flip entry. Could have also taken a directional close, but I'm going to go flip entry. For this, I'm going to go for a 1 to 3 risk reward. Let's see how this trade plays out. Actually, wait. Okay, never mind. Just draw my zone a little bit wrong, but if this would have been tapped, the zone would have been invalid already. So yeah, I'm not going to say this is an A+ setup just because we came from a lot of downtrend movements, but it's definitely not important. And also just how close this actually came to the zone. But let's see if we actually get a win on this one. Well, I just wanted to say I would have gone out for break even as soon as they hit a 1 to 1.5. I always go break even at this point. So this was a break even trade, not a win. Neither a loss as well. So I'm just going to continue now. Let's see. I believe actually this was news anyways, so this would have been closed either way. Could have also been a 0.7 profit, but I'm not too sure if this was actually news, so I'm just going to leave it as a break-even point now. Alright, we did actually have this set up over here, but I'm not too interested in taking that, to be fair. It's just definitely very low quality, so I just have it marked out. It's still valid, but it's not a quality setup that I would take in the live market, so I'm just going to be realistic here and just leave it like this. I'm not going to take that trade. Alright, so we have this demand zone just over here. I hope it's not tapped. Let me just check. Mark it out correctly. Yeah, the zone is, I think, barely tapped, so it's still kind of valid. Let's see if we actually come down to tap this zone. Well, yeah, this is definitely not no anymore. It's not going to come down from this point. Overall, right now, it's been pretty dry, so I'm hoping to get some trades right now. We have another setup over here, but not looking to take this just because how far liquidity is. Otherwise, this would be a great setup if it did something like this, you know, and came over here then had this structure, it would have been way nicer, but just because the liquidity is too far, so it will be kind of invalid for me, so I'm not looking to take this trade. But of course, trades like these can win as well. But it's not just worth taking these kind of trades because the win rate on these is just very low, so I'm trying to increase my win rate a lot. Okay, so we finally actually found a valid setup. I have to say, definitely not A+, just because liquidity is not like a obvious high. As you can see, it's just a few small candles, but the rejection is pretty nice. So I'm just gonna, let's say, directional close, stop loss at the wick that tapped, and over here I'll just have it as a 1 to 2, simple like that. Let me just check something else. Came into this clear space, nothing too serious. Let's just see what happens. I mean, the movement to the zone wasn't great as well, but might still be worth taking in the live market, but I wouldn't risk like a full amount on this trade. Let's just see what happens though. But yeah, as you just saw, we got stopped out. Like I said, not the best looking setup, but I did decide to take this, so this is considered as a loss now. We had a break even, not taking this trade, 1 loss, and then a 2% just over here. All right, we do have this demand zone all the way down over here. All we need is a bullish rejection now. Yep, never mind, it closes out the zone. But wait, let me see, did it actually, where we have this demand zone as well, but I believe, yeah, it went through the zone, so both of these are invalidated now. Let's see if we have any other zones. Yeah, we do. Actually, we have this demand zone as well, so let's see if we actually get this tapped. Okay, well, never mind, I guess. Zones just keep getting disrespected. Probably chose a very bad month for this. Let's see. Let's see if we get a comeback. Skipped a little bit too far, but we did actually have this nice demand zone over here. Nice level of liquidity, close inside the supply zone, and a very nice rejection with a flip entry. Just so you know, flip entries are best to take if it went like past the previous candle. So let's say, yeah, this bearish candle tapped, and as you can see, it went past it over here. That just gives us more confirmation. All right, so just keep that in mind. So flip entry over here, have my stop loss just below the wick, and go for a 1 to 3 or a 1 to 4, just because we just have this clear space, and also we're coming off this nice demand zone over here as well. So let's see if we can actually get a nice shade off here. All right, great, a 1 to 4. That's a great trade. Okay, we had another supply zone. That's actually pretty nice too. Your stop loss would have been pretty big over here. Of course, I accidentally skipped through it. I thought this was news, so I decided to avoid this for a second. But if I now look at it, everything looks good. Just had a massive rejection on the zone, and on this example, just would have gone for a 1 to 2. Optional 1 to 2. Could have also gone for a 1 to 1.5, but for a 1 to 2 on me, just because we're actually with the trend as well. I don't normally like going like very high risk to reward trades if we're not really in trend as well. But like I said, it doesn't matter on the 5-minute time frame. But as you can see, we just got a back-to-back nice trades. Let's see if we can get another win or a loss. Who knows? Alright, I'm not too sure if it actually tapped this zone. Okay, it did. That's actually a pretty good setup as well. Just enter on this small bullish candle that reacted from the zone. Stop loss at the wick, and for this I'll go for a 1 to 3. All right, well, this was very nice. Could have also just taken a 1-minute trading stop as well, but for if we're not really in trend, you know, I'm not really looking to take 1-minute trading stop loss, just because it might not go that far. But maybe let's see if this actually reverses trend or not. All right, so I'm going to look for one more setup and then I'm done for the backtesting period. So let's see if we actually get a win or a loss for our last setup. Hopefully it's a win. Or we actually tap this demand zone. As you can see, so this is a pretty nice setup itself as well. Now let's see if we get a bullish rejection. Okay, unfortunately it closed inside the zone, so I'm not looking to take this anymore. Alright, for this last setup, well, as you can see, I already lost, but I'm still gonna show you. So nice demand zone, liquidity took out its own high into this clear space. Nice rejection. Could have gone for flip entry, but that might be too risky. Stop loss over here, and as I skipped a little bit forward, this already lost. But would have gone for a 1 to 3 on this trade, and yep, as you just saw, it lost. I mean, I did accidentally choose a pretty dry period, but we got 3% over here, 2% over here, 4% over here, -1. So that's already 1%, 2%. This is that's 5% and 9% total, -1%, and then another 2%. So overall, very, very clean. Small period. What was this like? This was about 5 days, just from trading 5 days. Got this very nice period. Could have also gotten a better period, but that's it for the backtesting session. So I know this video wasn't like too entertaining or anything, but it's just everything you need to know to at least backtest it. So if you are in a position that you can backtest right now, then do it right after you finish this video, okay?